What's up, guys? It's Kictor, and welcome back to another Tgcf read-through, where I'm so excited because where we left off yesterday was like a total cliffhanger, and I don't remember what's happening. I remember the Blackwater arc, but this is like the lead up to it, and like Shibudo just like poured a black liquid down Qingxuan's throat. I don't remember. I do not remember, but I'm excited. What's up, everyone? Hey, Jaded Chaos, Night Owl Workshop. You already sound better than yesterday. Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely coughing a lot less. I cough like randomly now. Feeling so much better. How are you guys doing? Vico in the kitchen, Horror Girl, Moe Melon, Flowering Roses, Kohaku Tsukino, Quinn. Hello, everybody. Can you turn up your mic audio? It's pretty high. How's the sound right now for everyone? I'm almost in the red. How's it sounding right now? Maybe I've just been quiet because of my throat. Hello, Esper Lady. Sienna says, guys, I found a tick on my today and spent 5 minutes looking for more. Oh my god. Ew! A tick! That's scary. Horror Girl says, lower your voice. Okay, I think at some point you guys gotta handle your own audio. As long as I'm not peaking, I don't want it to like... If my voice is ever like distorting, let me know, because I don't want it to like crackle, you know. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling great. Stitch and I actually left the house today. We got some errands done. And we went to the bookstore and picked up Case File Volume 8. I told you guys this is a Case File channel now. And Stitch just finished reading it. She read it in, I think, 2 or 3 hours, in the same time that I finished editing the Case File 7 video, which will be up tomorrow morning. Also, I just wanted to say... thank you guys so much for everyone who has ordered the Yaoi shirt. That is a huge support to the channel, and I'm glad you guys love the design. I'm just going to post it again right here. New Yaoi shirts. Right here. Thank you guys so much for checking that out. Wow, here is the new Yaoi shirts. Oh my god, there's a ghost. It is so windy. The wind just closed the door. We got new Yaoi shirts. We got Deme Book Club shirts. We got Red String of Fate shirts. And we have the Tears of 33 Heavenly Official mug. Yay! Check those out at Kictor.com. And also we have the wedding sticker still. Awesome. You guys are the best. Aria's Drawing says, me and Stitch actually just finished Case File Volume 8 in the same amount of time. I finished it last night. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That is crazy. Stitch didn't spoil too much for me, but from what she did tell me, I'm just like, oh brother, what was Meat Bun on while writing this? Because milk is integral to the plot of Case File. Oh my gosh. Oh, Meat Bun. Speaking of milk, does anyone else enjoy coffee and have like a little coffee in the morning? We have our latte machine, so every morning we have a little latte with so we have an espresso maker. We make our espresso, and then we use Homo milk, 3% milk, steam it, and that's our morning latte. And then every day, also around like 3 o'clock, Stitch and I have iced coffee. So we use our espresso machine again, and then we use condensed milk, make it a little sweet, and then mix it up, and then more milk, ice, straw, ultimate bliss. Is it crispy milk? It's crispy milk in the afternoon. The milk percentages is how much fat is in the milk, I think. R.A. is Drawing says, I'm also working on some Hybrid Dragon Hoshe AU art right now, but it's a surprise and I won't be showing it until Hoyu's birthday. Oh, I'm excited. When is Hoyu's birthday? T, what's up, T? T says, I realized not too far into Volume 8 that I didn't remember enough of Volume 7, not to be confused on Volume 8. So volume 8 is on hold while I reread volume 7. Hey, well, maybe you won't have to reread it because I have my video on it tomorrow. So you can just turn my video on at 3x speed and you'll be caught up. Do you guys ever do that? Do you watch videos at like 2x speed? I like watching videos, I think like 1.5x is usually pretty good. 2x if the person's talking very slowly. What's the fat percent on Gaga milk? 100%. 100%. None of that fat's getting skimmed. Gaga cream is 6.9%. Oh my gosh. Stupid Author, Stupid Novel 69 says, I'm still on Arha 9 for the first time, but I can't read without crying, and I have too much homework. No! Oh god, yeah. What a time. What a time to be alive. And then, also Stitch this morning finished reading Thrice Married to Salted Fish, Volume 2, and she said she really, really loved it, and you know, one of Stitch's favorite Danmays of all time is The Wife Comes First, and she said that Thrice Married to Salted Fish might even top that. So that's quite high praises. 33%. Ugh, you guys ever, like, put something in the dishwasher and then it just tastes like soap? Like, I feel like a water bottle is so sacred. I shouldn't have put it in the dishwasher. This water just tastes like the dishwasher. Aria's Drawing says, Case File Volume 8 gets so much better for those who are worried and upset from Case File 7. Yay! Oh, that's great. We also, we were looking for the next volume of Legend of Exorcism, but it was not at the bookstore. But that one's out, right? Legend of Exorcism 5? Or are we crazy? Legend of Exorcism 5. Yeah, it's out. We just don't have it. They don't have it. It's ridiculous. Rose City Kimono said, for me, I liked Thrice Married much more than Wife Comes First. Interesting. I was thinking, you know what's funny? I feel like Thrice Married to a Salted Fish. Especially because, like, in English, I feel like maybe hearing salted fish might be the first time English-speaking audiences are even aware of that, like, what is it, a metaphor, idiom, or whatever, for, like, a lazy person. And I was like, imagine if it had one of those names, like, the 3 times I got married to the laziest boy ever. Like, those, like, typical isekai titles. You know, if it I wonder if it would, like, cheapen it in the way that, like, don't judge a book by its cover. I feel like Thrice Married to a Salted Fish sounds like, oh, mysterious and interesting and romantic. You know? Yeah, slime. The 3 times that I got married to a lazy boy and a slime. Scorpius says, I can confirm Legend of Exorcism 5 is out. I'm currently in the bookstore and I'm looking at it. Ah, damn it. Not my bookstore. The 3 times I was married to the couch potato. Brayley says, I DoorDashed a latte because I was too tired to make one today. Oh my gosh, hell yeah. That's awesome. Forgetting Envy says, what are you planning for Friday game night? Did we play Gartic Phone last time? I think we can play Gartic Phone again. I've been doodling a little bit. Also, for the case file video, I was making flowcharts, making sure all the information was coming across. Clearly. Don't think we ever aren't putting a lot of effort into them. Hey, Kate! How are you doing, Kate? Kate says, oh my god, my baby did not want to go to sleep. That's funny. We love a flowchart. T says, as someone who has to shelve a lot of manga, I hate what those titles do to the alphabetization. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, Arwen. Very nice, very nice. Frantic Fanfic is super fun. what did everyone get up to today? Anyone do anything fun? Lemon Cake says, is Case File a sad series? I'm kind of interested in it. I wouldn't say the overarching feeling you come away from reading Case File is sadness. I think it would be it's outrageous. It's outrageous and has very high highs and very low lows, but it's not extremely depressing. It's sad in an unhinged kind of way, yeah. Sad in ways. Evil Tetris Master said I did a cosplay of my OC. That's awesome! That's sweet. What was what did your cosplay look like? The Wizard of Moss says, I went to work and that was the entire day. Very nice, very nice. Are you home from work now? Horror Girl says, I saw a cool Dan May book yesterday, and it is The God of War Became My Concubine. Yeah, we saw that one at the bookstore today, too. Stitch hasn't read that one yet. Kate says, I love Frantic Fanfic. Okay, maybe we'll play Frantic Fanfic this week, then. Black and Green Tea says, half of the shelves are I/I'm something, reborn/reincarnated something, or accidentally something, and it throws off the spacing of everything else. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can imagine. Oh, that time I was accidentally reincarnated as a slime. Ooh, a steampunk costume. That's wicked! That is super awesome. Wizard of Moss is my aunt's house, but yes. Oh, very nice. Oh, I'm glad that you're off work. Ooh, Shane just got back from the bookstore too, and it's your mom's birthday. Oh, nice. Happy birthday to Shane's mom. Spazzy, I'm so sorry to hear that, Spazzy. That's ridiculous. I'm so sorry, Spazzy. I hope you're okay. CSCL, thank you so much for donating. CSCL says, recap. The tumors find Qingxuan, but he resists his brother. Hua Cheng fake proposes and admits he likes someone, making Shailian sad. Despite Hua Cheng's warning, Shailian goes to see Qingxuan and he's held captive by Shiwudu. Laugh or cry counter 17.5. Oh, yes, yes. And Lucky Dog, thank you so much for joining my membership. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I feel like the lucky dog. That's so nice of you. Thank you. And Annika says, it's my mom's birthday too. Happy birthday, Annika's mom. Yes. Okay, I was just talking to Stitch about this. I'm like, isn't it so funny how Hua Cheng was like, do not get involved with Shi Qingxuan, Shi Wudu, the Earthmaster, Ling Wen, or Pei Ming. And Shailian immediately goes and ignores all of that. Like, he trusts and he fucking loves Hua Cheng already, but he truly trusts Hua Cheng so much, but then he completely does not listen to his warning at all. Shailian definitely has a case of like, I know more than you, I know better than you, you know. And what else did he do? Oh yeah, because he fully lied for Hua Cheng's sake, because Hua Cheng was hanging out with them, and then when Pei Ming was like, oh, I'm surprised to see you without Hua Cheng, is he around? Shailian immediately was like, nope, and then looks at Ming Yi and is like, do not fucking say Hua Cheng was here. And Ming Yi looks back and is like, got it. CLCL says, Shi Qingxuan called him best friend, what else could he do? That's true, it's true. It's just funny how, you know, he just trusts Hua Cheng so much. He trusts him so much to lie to other people. And yet, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say, though. Kate says, I need to know the Hua Xuan part of this arc. I need to know their chat history during the Venerable Empty Words arc. Yeah. Yeah. That would be great. I would love to see the retelling of TGCF from Hua Cheng's perspective. Also, something that I feel like was just kind of glossed over was that, like, Mooching and Function got into a fight that, like, destroyed the shit out of, like, the Heavenly Pavilion. There's definitely so much cursing each other out. Gaga time soon, indeed, yes. Oh, from Lam1G's perspective would be really good too. RA says community. Yeah, let's do the community. Let's go to the community. Xavian, I went to the community yesterday. I don't think you were here. And I saw the picture you drew of fucking Squidward and Shay Ching Chung, and I lost my mind. I laughed so hard. That was amazing. Xavian says, member for 19 months. Thank you so much, Xavian. It says, celebrating 19 with a BL update. Working on the final chapter 24, which is looking to be double the normal size right now. Nice! We are 67K and counting. So excited. That is so wicked. What an incredible accomplishment. The final chapter. Wow. Do you think you'll, like, when will you be finished it? Are you gonna finishing a Beef Leaf fic in Mermaid is quite auspicious, isn't it? Wow, community. Welcome to the community. Oh, right. I'm glad you saw my reaction. Okay. Oh, nice. New trading cards. Very nice. Weebmeister. Oh my god, thank you so much for donating. Weebmeister says, quick life update. I just got a job offer for a ER nurse position today. It was a really competitive position and they were only offering one open spot for the program, so I am super excited. Oh my god, dude, congrats. That is wicked. Oh my god, everyone put congrats in the chat for Weebmeister. That is so awesome. Dude, you're killing it. That's so fucking cool, dude. You're running marathons and you're getting the job you want. That is awesome. Thank you so much for donating so much too. That is really, really kind of you. That is just, I really appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I love that I feel like we've been hanging out so much more in the chats recently. I really like talking to you. That is just awesome. I'm so, so glad that you got that. Especially after, like, you got your fucking bike stolen yesterday, right? The karma came back a little bit in your favor. Wow, that is awesome. I love to hear that. Yay! I know there's also so many people right now that are really struggling to find jobs and stuff. A lot of my friends are super stressed out, so that is wicked. I hope that you feel amazing right now. And thank you again so much for donating. Weebmeister says, I needed the joy of that new offer because my stupid insurance company does not cover electric bikes. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That really fucking does suck. Arwen says, I recently got one of my pet freshmen onto Tgcf and she made me this wonderful drawing of Sunlong. Oh my god. Next week I'm gonna give her my old copy of Nodazushi Book 1 before we head into summer break. Oh my god. That is amazing. This is incredible art. Just to have a friend casually be like, oh yeah, I know you like this book. Here's this drawing I made you. That's so nice. That is so, so nice, Arwen. Quinn says, my beef leaf got a child and they gave the kid Yowie. Oh, and yes, Hushwan is in a fish costume. That's great. That is great. Oh my goodness. Chu Chiao La says, I drew this a while ago, but it's Shalian. I was wondering if anyone has any drawing recommendations. I can do any requests. Oh my gosh, this is great. I love how you drew him. Well, if you're looking for a request, Hua Chung and Hushwan yelling at each other in the communication array could be kind of funny. just another, came out of a reading slump. That's great to hear. And, ooh, explaining the plot of Yu to someone. That is a heavy start, is it not? RW Silver says, Mini Shaylam while I'm studying. Oh, so cute. He's very cute. He's rooting for you. You can do it. And Italian Opera says, I did it. This is my first time posting here, but the idea of Yin Yu tucking in Qirong and the kids into bed was too good for me not to draw and post. Yes! That's what happened last chapter. That's so funny. Meanwhile, in Puchi Shrine, literally, Lang Ying and Guzu and Qirong, and look at, Yin Yu's giving them little kisses on the head. Oh my god. That is so funny. The good night. Mwah. You see, he's used to giving Hua Cheng little forehead kisses when he tucks him in, and so he just naturally did it to Qirong. Ooh, Aria's drawing, very nice. Aria's drawing says, there's just something about drawing and seeing this man with bite marks. Ah, nice. Also, I cannot show the full last sketch. Oh my. Oh, it looks like maybe he's oh no, it's the nipple sucking, isn't it? It's the nipple sucking. This is great. Oh my god, I love how you draw hair. I love how you draw eyes. I love how you draw Shui Ching Chang. This is awesome. It says, anyways, I finished volume 8 in a matter of a few hours. So many of my predictions have been met and correct, as well as my predictions or some of my concerns. Oh my gosh. Also, my faith has been restored. I won't explain, but I just want to know the relief I felt during some reveals. Oh my god. Okay. The leaking of the milk. That's incredible. Aria's drawing. Thank you for sharing that. Oh! I got a fan mail packet today, and I can open it tomorrow with Stitch. Yes. I went to the P.O. box today. Black and Green Tea says, the real question, do you think Peanut Jr. gets goodnight kisses too? Yes. I think so. Yeah, come on. Oh, could you picture? I think Blackwater would be affectionate with his pets. Like, even in like a modern AU, can't you picture him with like a little cat that like bugs him all the time? Kind of like Shi Qingxuan. And like gives him headbutts and stuff, and and maybe his cat like won't leave him alone until he like gives it a little kiss on the head. But one of those kisses on the head where it's like, okay, stop bothering me. That's so cute. Oh, I love that idea. Does Hua Cheng need to give the fish kisses too when he feeds them? He's like reading the directions that Xuan gave him for the fish care, and it's like, and give them each a kiss on the head before you leave. And he's like, oh, okay. Wait, what? How do you kiss a fish on the head? He's like in the sand kneeling. He's the Bonefish's stepdad. That's so funny. Yeah, they won't eat unless they get a kiss. He's like throwing the food in the water and they're just looking up like... That is so cute. Oh my gosh. That is so cute. He's the dad that stepped up. Yes. Rich stepdad. Oh my god. He Xuan and Prince Jing discussing fish care. Oh my god. I think He Xuan would be like horrified. You do what? You got your fish pregnant? He's like, you sick fuck! Get out! He smites him out of his domain. He's like holding Peanut Jr. He's like covering his eyes, like, you stay away from that man. Oh, black and green tea, yes! As alternatively, the pet goodnight kisses started the first time Qingxuan spent the night, and then the animal started demanding kisses every night, regardless of who they're from. Yes! Qingxuan definitely was the one who started that. That is so, so cute. Xavian says, I like the idea that Heshuan pet food debt is completely unnecessary since they're skeletons, but he thinks they deserve it, so that's why they get it. Aw, yeah. Kind of like, cause like, I'm thinking about like Sanji from One Piece, like, because he starved once, he'll like never let anyone go starving. So since Heshuan starved once, he's like, my fish will never be starved. I'll never let anyone starve. He would put Prince Jing on some kind of registry. The fish saw Qingxuan kiss Blackwater and got jealous. Oh, they're so cute. That's so cute. Oh my god. I love that. I'm all about that. He cares about the babies. All right. Let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. Let's learn more about Mingyi. Hopefully. Okay. Chapter 58. Traversing through tunnels. Sword hanging above. What is this, K project? Qingxuan violently choked as Shiwudu squeezed his jaw and force-fed him the contents of the bowl. He spat and sputtered out more than half the stuff, dirtying the front of his robes. Screaming, he slammed his head into the bowl to knock it from his brother's hands. Shiwudu fumed. Go ahead, keep breaking them, he yelled. There's plenty of medicine where that came from. Break one bowl and I'll bring 20 more. I'll keep forcing it down your throat until you drink it all. Ah! Can't you just leave me alone? Just let me die! Qingxuan screamed. I'm your brother! Shiwudu snapped. If I don't take care of you, who will? Oh my god, oh my god, okay. Qingxuan ceased his screams and settled for twisting his head away. Shiwudu sat down on the side of bed and softened his tone. I'll have your fan fixed. I don't want it anymore, Qingxuan said. Okay, something super fucked up must have happened. This is not the Windmaster we know and love. The Windmaster loved that rare spiritual device of his Windmaster fan. He'd often bring it out just to play with. Even at the height of winter, with snow choking the skies, he would flutter that fan undaunted. But now, he'd said he didn't want it anymore. Shalian was only growing more and more curious. If you don't want it, that's fine as well. We'll use this opportunity to forge you a new spiritual device. Qingxuan turned his head back to look at his brother. I don't want a new one either! Just let me descend! Shiwudu peered at him. Descend? Descend where? Descend to the mortal realm, Qingxuan replied. I don't want to stay in the upper court anymore. I don't want to be a god anymore. What is happening? Oh my god. Veins bulged on Shiwudu's fair brow. What a joke! Throw away your godhood and return to the mortal realm? Do you think the mortal realm is some kind of wonderful place? Stop embarrassing yourself. I don't think you understand just how many people in the world want to ascend, or how many officials in the middle court would die to join the upper court. That's right! I don't know! Qingxuan shouted, his anger obvious. I just want to be a carefree, drifting vagabond! Is that so wrong? Okay, that's kind of fucking iconic. I just want to be a carefree, drifting vagabond. Is that so wrong? Oh my god. Hi, Hannah. I won't permit it, Shiwudu snapped. A carefree, drifting vagabond. Dream on. Put a pin in that. The color of his face changed abruptly. It seemed he'd received a private message and passed on worrisome news. With 2 fingers pressed against his temple, Shiwudu rose to his feet at once and listened intently. His face grew more and more serious, and he turned to Qingxuan. Stop adding to my troubles. I've been busy. I've no time to mind you. Once I return to my 3rd heavenly tribulation, you won't be able to act out like this any longer. Then, with a whirl of his sleeves, he swiftly left the bedchamber. Once it was clear that he was gone, Shalian silently flipped down. He pushed at the window, hoping to sneak in, but it wouldn't budge. Some sort of seal of restriction must have been cast on it. He dared not force it open, lest he trip any alarms associated with that spell. And so he could only call out in a quiet voice, "Lord Windmaster! Lord Windmaster!" Qingxuan jerked on the bed. He turned his head, joy clear on his face. "Your Highness!" "It's me," Shalian responded. "What happened to you? I can't open this window. May I try coming in another way?" When confronted with a window that couldn't be opened by normal means, it was easy to guess the entry method a martial god would choose. Don't destroy anything," Qingxuan said hurriedly. "There are spells on all the windows and doors. If you force your way in, the whole palace of wind and water will know someone's here. They can only be opened from the inside, unless you're me or my brother." "But you're all tied up," Shalian pointed out. Qingxuan started to struggle like mad. "Your Highness, wait a sec. Watch me flex these ropes right off." ... Shalian watched as he rolled around the bed in an immense struggle to break free, alternating between curling up like a shrimp and straightening out like an iron board. Shalian softly cheered him on. "Keep at it, my lord." Are you fucking kidding me? He's like, and Shalian's like, "Keep at it. Yep. Keep going." This is so comical. He could tell with a cursory glance that the rope binding Qingxuan wasn't a spiritual device. With Lord Windmaster's considerable power, it should have snapped with but a hook of his finger. Why was he having such trouble? Was Qingxuan really so seriously hurt that he couldn't break free of simple bindings? All of a sudden, an odd movement came from under Qingxuan's bed, and a hand stretched out from below. Shalian was startled, and his heart raced in alarm. "Lord Windmaster, watch out! Someone's hiding underneath your bed!" Qingxuan's expression also changed. "What?" Just as he spoke, a black figure swiftly crawled from under the bed. Staring down commandingly at him from above was a man dressed in black and wearing a ghost mask. It was hard to tell how long he'd been hiding there or what he was about to do. Qingxuan writhed desperately, unable to escape his bonds, and Shalian remained locked outside. It was truly a dire situation. But before Shalian could put his thoughts of smashing the window into action, he saw the man push up his ghost mask. "Shut up!" he hissed in a hushed voice. Qingxuan's eyes widened. "Mingxiang? Mingxiang! My god, Mingxiang! Oh, my good pal! Quick! Help me loosen these ropes!" Oh my god. We need that drawn. Him with the ghost face. Oh my god. My good pal. My good pal, Mingxiang. With just one hand, Mingyi snapped the ropes that bound Qingxuan. Qingxuan worked out the kinks in his limbs, then crawled out of bed and rushed over to the window. He clutched Shalian's hands and shook them in earnest gratitude. "Your Highness, thank you for remembering me." It's like it's been 10 minutes. Shalian patted his shoulders and then hopped into the bedchamber with nimble feather lightness. Wasn't there a restriction seal on the chamber? How did Lord Earthmaster get in? "It was hardly a feat considering my profession," Mingyi said. After saying this, he seemed to notice something amiss. He picked up the rope on the ground and inspected it, asking Qingxuan, "Why couldn't you break free of something as trivial as this?" Shalian looked closely as well. This was a completely ordinary rope. With such strong spiritual power at his command, why did the Windmaster remain bound for so long by nothing but coarse twine? Qingxuan's face froze, and Mingyi grabbed his left wrist. As he felt his pulse, his expression turned grim. "What's going on?" Shalian reached out and took hold of Shi Qingxuan's right wrist. After a moment, his discovery dumbfounded him. Lord Windmaster, how did this happen? There was not a trace of spiritual power in Shi Qingxuan's body. Oh, shit. Was it that bowl of medicine? Shalian guessed. Recalling the bowl of medicine Shiwudu was trying to force down Shi Qingxuan's throat earlier, Shalian crouched to check the spillage. However, Shi Qingxuan replied, no. It truly wasn't the medicine. Shalian was somewhat familiar with the healing arts. Judging by its smell, the medicinal broth was likely an anesthetic meant to calm him. At most, it might cause drowsiness. Thinking back to the terrace of cascading wine and the frightening look that crossed his face, Shiwudu must have noticed his younger brother's condition when he grabbed his wrist. He was likely making his brother drink such a broth for his own good. So why was Shi Qingxuan so adamant in refusing it? No wonder Shi Qingxuan wasn't answering any private communications. With his spiritual power completely gone, he was no different from a mortal. Kate says Shalian's medical malpractice arc. Orion says, no, wait, does that mean Shi Qingxuan doesn't have their magical transgender powers? Yeah, girl. Lord Windmaster, you've been banished? Shalian blurted without thinking. How else could this have happened? But there were no cursed shackles on him, and there was no way a banishment could be kept under wraps. The upper and middle courts would have caught wind of it in no time. Pun intended. Shi Qingxuan's face was pale, and he seemed unable to stand any longer. Shalian helped support him. Why did Lord Watermaster tie you up? Only then did Shi Qingxuan snap out of it. Right, my brother. Let's hurry out of here while he's still gone. Let's talk after we've escaped. Then he dropped to the floor and crawled under the bed. Shalian bent down and called after him. Lord Windmaster! There was actually a hole under the bed, leading to somewhere unknown. Shi Qingxuan disappeared into it, and Ming Yi lowered himself down as well, ready to follow him. After a moment of thought, Shalian decided to follow them too. However, Ming Yi came back out. Your Highness, don't involve yourself anymore. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Shalian was taken aback by this, by his rebuff. Lord Windmaster has given me generous assistance on many occasions. Now that he's in trouble, I can't just sit back and watch. He's generous to everyone, but when there's real trouble, most people don't return the favor, Ming Yi said. Look at him, defending him! How others behave has nothing to do with me, Shalian stated. After we've figured out what's going on, I will of course take my leave if my assistance is unnecessary. He's like, I'll give you guys space. Shi Qingxuan's voice came from under the bed. Are you two coming? The hole is closing! Sure enough, the hole under the bed was gradually growing smaller. Seeing this, Ming Yi leapt inside, and Shalian followed. As they crawled through the tunnel Ming Yi dug, Shalian looked back to find that the entrance to the hole had closed on its own. How absolutely magical. Lord Earthmaster, how did you dig this out? He asked in a hushed voice. I thought it was impossible to burrow beneath the heavenly capital. It must be known that the foundation of the heavenly capital was not the same as the earth of the mortal realm. In response to Shalian's question, he learned the Earthmaster Ming Yi was a skilled tradesman prior to his ascension. In his mortal lifetime, he repaired bridges, fixed roads, opened mountain paths, constructed houses, and bestowed prosperity to countless common folk. These astounding feats of service were what allowed him to ascend. Before any major construction projects began in the mortal realm, before any earth was broken, the people first prayed to the Earthmaster for the blessing of successful labor. You ever see those repaired bridges, huh? Yeah. You ever see those signs that are like, call before you dig? So you don't hit like a pipeline or something? It's Ming Yi who picks up. And he's like, fucking dig, I don't care. Quinn, thank you for donating. Secret tunnel. Earthmaster is a union man, I knew it. Wonder if he built better bridges than other people. Hoo-hoo. Yeah, if only he could have given a certain someone else some building advice. Couple thousand years too late. After ascension, he forged a spiritual device, a shovel in the shape of a crescent moon. Rumor had it that there was no mountain this sacred shovel could not flatten, no tunnel that he could not be dug, and no building that could not be entered. This was extremely useful for spying operations in Ghost City. If he wished to enter a secret chamber, he could simply dig his way in, and his tracks would cover themselves. Maybe he could have escaped on his own using his treasured shovel if Hua Cheng hadn't beaten him to a pulp and significantly damaged his spiritual powers. The Earth Master had never tried using his shovel to tunnel beneath the residence of any heavenly official. He didn't really show the thing off in general. He usually kept it in storage, which was probably for the best. Spiritual devices of the upper court officials were generally elegant and beautiful, like books and brushes, swords and fans, and guqins and flutes. It would completely ruin the court's image if among them was a heavenly official who hauled a shovel around all day. Wow, it's literally like extremely powerful, and yet just from how it looks, it would be bad to carry it around in heaven. That's so lame. It's all about looks. It's all about keeping up appearances. In Shalian's heaven, everyone would be having shovels. They could walk around and be proud with your shovel. Once he heard the explanation, Shalian couldn't help but wonder if he wanted this Pucci shrine to be renovated, maybe he should pray to the Earthmaster too. After crawling for a while ahead of him, Shalian heard Ming Yi ask a question of Qingxuan. Was it the Reverend of Empty Words? Shalian also wanted to know the answer. If the Reverend of Empty Words had injured Qingxuan like this, and if news of the incident got out, it would shake up the heavenly realm and cause a huge panic. To think that a monster could rob a heavenly official of their powers in such a short time, and that it could cause them to fall and become mortal, it wasn't hard to imagine the mayhem it would create. It was such a serious affair, but after a few moments of silence, Qingxuan replied with a simple statement. No matter who did it, this whole thing is over and done with. His reaction was extremely questionable. He shouldn't have been acting so flippant if he was caught in a trap designed to drain him of his power. Qingxuan wasn't a sucker who'd take a beating lying down. A sudden, dreadful idea dawned upon Shalian. Although awful to consider, it would explain everything. Just then, Ming Yi ordered silence. They all held their breaths, and Shalian and Qingxuan looked at him. Ming Yi ignited a palm torch, and the flickering flames illuminated their immediate surroundings. Ming Yi seemed to want to communicate via the spiritual array, but Qingxuan's powers were gone, and he couldn't communicate with his mind alone. Guess they got a kiss! Thus, Ming Yi changed tactics and used his finger to write words in the air. Wherever his fingertips traced, a black streak trailed behind like drops of thick ink diffusing in clear water. The other two read what he wrote. Don't speak and don't move. Wait. He waited for everyone to finish reading, then puffed a soundless breath that dispersed those words into the air. Shalian still had some spiritual power left, so he raised his hand and replied in writing as well. Wait for what? For how long? Ming Yi wrote, wait until the person above leaves. This is so scary! This is so scary! Shalian and Qingxuan both looked up at the same time. It seemed this underground tunnel Ming Yi had dug burrowed beneath some heavenly residences and temples. A heavenly official probably just happened to be above their heads at that very moment. Black and Green Tea says, I need to know if the fact that the Earthmaster oversees construction was a factor in the gingerbread house building video, because that reminder makes that scene so much funnier. I think, to be completely honest, we probably weren't thinking about that fact in the moment, but looking back on it now, that is super funny. Listening intently, they could hear the sounds of steady footsteps pacing back and forth in the chamber above. Judging by those footsteps, Shalian determined that it had to be a martial god. Martial god's senses were sharp. If the three of them weren't careful and made any suspicious noises, they might be discovered. Qingxuan couldn't use the communication array, nor write with ink in the air. All he could do was move his lips silently to express his accusations. Shalian watched him repeat the phrase twice before he could understand what he said. Mingxiang, why didn't you avoid temples and palaces? Couldn't you have dug under the Grand Avenue of Divine Might instead? Mingyi indifferently wrote, there wasn't anyone in this palace before. The Grand Avenue of Divine Might is full of holes right now. Shalian wrote, that's right, I saw it on the way over earlier. The avenue is full of holes and craters. Some are even a few meters deep. If we dug into one of those by accident, we might come face to face with someone above. So that's why Fengxian and Muqian had to have a fight there. And so the three remained as silent as dull rocks, waiting patiently for the heavenly official above them to leave. After waiting for a while, Qingxuan moved his lips again. Are they gone? Mingyi shook his head. Veins popped on Qingxuan's temple, and his angry expression was almost the same as it had been when he was arguing with his brother earlier. He mouthed soundlessly. Who the hell is dilly-dallying like this? It's not even the proper hour for sleeping. And what heavenly official needs to sleep for that matter? Are we under their bathroom or what? Oh my god. Strictly speaking, heavenly officials didn't need to go to the bathroom either. As Qingxuan's lips formed the word bathroom, Shalian felt the hair on the back of his neck stand. In one fluid motion, he shoved the two in front of him down while he backstepped and tumbled away. A sharp blade penetrated the tunnel from above, bearing down threateningly and roiling with murderous intent, and it stabbed into the ground right between Shalian's legs. Oh! Circumcision. Surprise circumcision. Chapter 59. Eve of the last day of autumn, an unscrupulous substitution. Unscrupulous. Although Shalian did indeed live his days passing himself off as impotent, pretending not to have the thing was still fundamentally different than truly losing the thing forever. It shocked a sheen of cold sweat into covering his body. Oh my god, he literally was like, my peanuts! Not my peanuts! Dodge! He barked. The blade was pulled out of the ground just as he spoke. Shalian seized the chance to move forward, but then he immediately yanked Qingxuan back. Watch out! The blade plunged down again and stabbed right in front of Qingxuan, practically scraping past his head. If Shalian hadn't pulled him back in time, he would have been nailed to the ground on the spot. That was close, he exclaimed, terrified. How did you know where it would attack? I don't know, I guessed, Shalian said. It was pure instinct. When it came to facing down an enemy with murderous intent, he had trained to the point where he could react without thinking. A second, a third, and a fourth blade came plunging down, the glare of each blade blocking the way forward and back. Boom! A huge explosion followed shortly after. Violent tremors shook the tunnel, raining down dust and debris. They've opened fire from above! Each boom got progressively louder, and the tremors grew in strength. Their source was obviously coming closer and closer. Sharp swords blocked them from the front and back, all young, keen blades. Fengxian was a senior, so Shalian wasn't sure that it could fight them head-on. Mingyi retrieved his crescent shovel from somewhere and began to dig into a wall of the confined tunnel with great difficulty. Next to him, Qingxuan was so distressed that his soul was about to leave his body. Mingxiang, can you even do this? Mingxiang, can you hurry up? It's your fault for not using that thing for such a long time. You gotta spend more time with all your devices, all right? Get intimate. Look how stiff and rusty it's gotten. Qingxuan's gotten intimate with his fan. To be fair, allowing it to become rusty was forgivable. After all, aside from Shalian, there wasn't a single heavenly official who could carry around a shovel every day with a straight face. Veins popped on Mingyi's forehead. Shut up! Shalian hastily intervened. Don't be mad! Don't be mad! The tunnel's been dug! It was as he said. The moment Mingyi put pressure on his shovel, a hole opened up before them. Raising his shovel high, he burrowed crazily ahead, while Qingxuan cheered him on crazily from the middle. As the only non-crazy person, Shalian brought up the rear. The shovel of the Earthmaster was truly magical. It dug out a few dozen meters ahead with only a few strokes, and when he looked back, the hole behind was gradually closing up on its own. However, thin light leaked from above the place where they'd been trapped. They're drilling through, Shalian alerted them urgently. Mingyi picked up the pace and burrowed even crazier. But suddenly, his movements stopped, and he looked up. Shalian reacted the same way, because they both sensed the same thing. It was completely silent above them. They could detect no movement. There was likely an empty palace above them. Since their tunnel had already been discovered, they needed to get out before trying anything else. Mingyi changed course and started digging upward. Are you too sure there's nobody here who will spot us when we get out? Qingxuan asked. Haven't heard anything, unless they're sleeping, Mingyi replied. Of course that shouldn't be a possibility. Heavenly officials usually didn't need to sleep at all, never mind in the middle of the day. Mingyi's shovel broke through and all three poked their heads out to take a gasp of fresh air. However, before they even had the chance to exhale, they saw someone on the bed across from them. It was a young man, and he was soundly asleep with his arms and legs sprawled out like a starfish. Oh my god. Shalian was baffled. It seemed there really were heavenly officials who slept in the middle of the day. Roused by the hubbub, the youth rolled over and sat up. His curly hair was a frightful mess from his slumber, and he watched the three strange heads with sleepy eyes. He furrowed his brows and scratched his head, clearly confused as to why such things had appeared in his palace. The three of them pretended that nothing was wrong and hastily clambered out of the hole. That's such a Scooby-Doo moment. Them just pretending like nothing's out of the ordinary, just being like, okay, bye. But just when Qingxuan was almost out, he gave a cry of alarm. Shalian looked back and saw that a hand had caught his ankle. Hey, Hoyu's Homophobia! Thank you so much for donating! Hoyu's Homophobia says, I haven't attended streams much, unfortunately. Exams have been crazy, and I had a college-level psychology exam yesterday. Glad to see you're better. Oh, thank you! Thank you so much. You had a college-level psychological Ebola exam? I hope you aced it. Thank you so much for donating again. I really, really appreciate it. The hand's owner was Pei Ming. He maintained exceptional manners, even while stuffed into a tunnel. Oh my god. Oh my god. It was fucking Pei Ming. They probably caught him jerking off. I'd wondered what little mouse was scurrying under my palace. Qingxuan, why are you out and about? Where are you going? You know how your brother gets when he's mad. Hurry back before he finds out. Oh wow, Pei Ming was willing to keep this a secret. Royer flew forth to strike his hand away, and Pei Ming leapt out of the hole. Your Highness, Lord Earthmaster, don't you have anything better to do? It's quite preposterous that you're encouraging the Windmaster to run away from home for no reason, isn't it? General Pei, while Lord Windmaster is Lord Watermaster's younger brother, he still has been a heavenly official for centuries. Please don't talk about him like he's a 3-year-old toddler, Shalian said. If we're going to talk about reasons, Lord Watermaster imprisoned a heavenly colleague with no justification. No matter how you want to spin it, wouldn't you say he's the one being preposterous? How could you say that about his boyfriend? If his theory on the matter was right, then the Windmaster really couldn't stay in the upper court any longer. The figure in bed sat up. It was Chuan Yizhen. He stayed where he was, watching them with a glassy look. He seemed confused about the whole situation. Pei Ming raised his sword. Qi Ying, stop staring and come give me a hand, he said sternly. Apprehend them! After giving it some thought, Chuan Yizhen decided to assist. He rolled off the bed, picked up that same bed he had just been sleeping on, and hurled it at Pei Ming. He threw the fucking bed at Chuan Yizhen. Look at this. Look at that! That's so funny. Holy shit, that's so funny. Just like, huh? Oh, I know what side I'm on. Oh my goodness. He indeed gave a hand, but to help Shalian and company, the bed crashed into the unsuspecting Pei Ming. "Qiying, why did you hit me?" he said, flabbergasted. Trenny Jen waved at Shalian, gesturing for them to hurry and leave. Shalian and company stood bewildered for a moment before hastily making their exit. Oh my gosh. Perhaps he was drained because of his injury, but Qingxuan only jogged a few steps before his face turned pale. Shalian moved to help him along, but Mingyi immediately yanked him over and lifted him up onto his back. The beef leaf. Oh, the beef leaf. No, they were in Pei Ming. They were underneath Pei Ming's palace, but then they kept digging, right? And then they ended up under Trenny Jen's palace. Shalian placed his hand on the door and dug out 2 dice, then called out behind him, "Thanks so much!" Trenny Jen was still in the process of pummeling Pei Ming, his moves vicious and aggressive and without method. If it wasn't for Pei Ming's own skills, if anyone else took such a thrashing, he would have been beaten bloody by now. Veins popped on Pei Ming's forehead. "Guards! Stop them!" he yelled. Before he could finish calling for the guards, Shalian had already tossed the dice, opened the door, and gotten the hell out of heaven. But as he closed the door and turned around, he never could have expected the sight that would greet him. Hua Cheng was fully nude from the waist up. He had 1 foot on a new donation box and was wiping away his sweat. I gotta say, reading Hua Cheng was fully nude. ... Shalian felt like he was going to suffocate. His run-down, tiny little Poochie shrine couldn't possibly hold so many great idols. There was also a certain possessed individual who was completely oblivious, howling and making a terrible racket outside. "Guzu, come give Daddy's legs a little massage! Chop!" It took a moment for Hua Cheng to toss Oming aside, which he had been using to carve wood. He arched an eyebrow. ... Question mark. The color of his skin and the contours of his bare upper half were exceedingly beautiful, extremely eye-catching, so much so that Shalian's eyes were about to fall out of their sockets. Even if he hadn't caught all the details, he still couldn't stop the blood from rushing to his head and making his vision go dark. Oh my god. The contours of his bare upper half, exceedingly beautiful, extremely eye-catching. Oh my god. He's so horny, he blacked out. Girl, the blood was not rushing north. Shalian fumbled and stumbled over to Hua Cheng and opened his arms wide, blocking him from Mingyi and Qingxuan's view. "Close your eyes! Quick! Close your eyes!" Oh my god. And he said, "For my eyes only?" Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Their expressions stiffened. They stared at Shalian and Hua Cheng, clearly perplexed. Hua Cheng placed his hand on Shalian's shoulder. "Gaga, why are you so nervous?" he asked, sounding amused. Why are you so nervous? Only then did Shalian snap out of it. Yes, why was he so nervous? Hua Cheng wasn't a woman. Who cared if he decided to work half naked? He still didn't drop his arms, doing his best to cover Hua Cheng completely. "Either way, just put on some clothes first." Hua Cheng shrugged. "Okay, as Gaga wishes." Oh my god. Oh my god, Kate. Mingyi in the communication array. "Shirtless, really?" Yeah, he's like, "We're on the way." Hua Cheng's like, "Oh great," takes his shirt off. I think that's so funny that his immediate reaction was like, "Ah, I have to cover him up." He then calmly grabbed a shirt and took his time putting it on. Oh my god. Watching him move so fluidly and with such perfect composure, Qingxuan said awkwardly, sorry for the intrusion. I didn't think you guys... you guys are pretty much... anyways, just... Qingxuan, like, immediately was like, oh, I know what you guys are. Yeah, Shailian also wanting Hua Cheng to cover up, I think, is because it also kind of seems like they're quite familiar to have Hua Cheng naked in his house, you know? My lord, if you have something to say it out loud so I can explain any misunderstandings. Don't just ha-ha it away, okay? Shailian said. They were pressed for time. Pei Ming might pursue them to Puchi Shrine at any moment, so they couldn't stay for long. Ming Yi set down Qingxuan and started drawing the teleportation array on the ground. Shailian was just about to ask where they were going when he heard Hua Cheng's sigh behind him. Shailian then remembered his advice to not get close to the Windmaster and company. He turned to him in spite of himself. Sorry about all this, Sanlong. Hua Cheng was dressed by then. I already knew you wouldn't just sit back and watch. After a pause, he smiled. But why is Gaga apologizing to me? You remember what I said a few days ago. But did you forget what I told you before that? Shailian was slightly taken aback and wondered, what? He then recalled what Hua Cheng had told him that night at the Green Ghost's lair. Just focus on doing what you want to do. Shailian blinked. He didn't know what to say. He only knew that he suddenly really wanted to do something for Hua Cheng. What do you want to do for him, Blow him? But at that moment, there really wasn't anything he could do. He was stuck in place until he noticed an issue with Hua Cheng's collar. Wait! He hurried over to help Hua Cheng fix his collar, which hadn't been properly flipped out after he shrugged the robes on. Having fixed it, Shailian inspected him for a moment, then smiled. There. Hua Cheng smiled too. Thanks. A small voice inside Shailian replied, I'm the one who should be thanking you. He's like, oh my god, he's acting so down bad. Oh my gosh. I should be thanking you for the show. That's crazy. Hi, Sugar Kiss. The other two seemed unable to look at them anymore, and Ming Yi's hand even seemed incapable of drawing a perfectly round circle. He's like, oh my god, this is so fucking gay. Once he finished drawing the array and the door opened again, Shailian thought he would see either a gloomy cave or some majestic palace. Instead, there was a large expanse of farmland. Lush green bamboo groves and mountains could be seen in the distance, and farmers were hard at work in the fields. There was also a burly, glossy, black ox pulling a plow. The scenery almost made Shailian think they were still at Puchi village, and he was briefly stunned. Ming Yi had already walked out, carrying Qingxuan on his back, and Hua Cheng had also stepped through before Shailian managed to collect himself. The four walked along the field ridge. Maybe it was all in his mind, but the black ox seemed to be staring at them the whole way. After walking for a while, they found a small cottage and went inside to sit down. Qingxuan blew out a long breath. Are we not fleeing any further? Shailian asked. What if General Pei chases us here? Oh, this is great. Hua Cheng stared outside for a while, focusing especially on the black ox, before finally closing the door. Don't worry, he wouldn't dare provoke the master of this land, he said nonchalantly. He wouldn't have an easy time if he tried. The water tyrant won't do anything rash, either. Shailian contemplated that for a moment and couldn't help but voice his thoughts. Sanlong, this whole thing is a mess. It probably involves many in the heavenly court. It might be best if you don't hang around. Hua Cheng only chuckled at that. What goes on in the upper court has nothing to do with me. I'm only here to sightsee by your side. He's so powerful. All of a sudden, Qingxuan stated, You should all stop hanging around. The others in the cottage looked at him. His Highness is right. This whole thing is a mess, and there are too many involved, Qingxuan continued. I'm going to stay here. My friends, there's no need to help anymore. Let's end it here. Lord Windmaster, it isn't up to you whether things end here, Shalian said slowly. It's up to Lord Watermaster and the Reverend of Empty Words. Hearing this, Qingxuan's expression stiffened. Lord Windmaster, I have a question. I hope you won't mind. Shalian added, What? Is the Reverend of Empty Words holding something over your and Lord Watermaster's heads? Qingxuan turned slightly pale. That night, at the Terrace of Cascading Wine, Shalian had set up an extremely secure protection array. As long as Qingxuan hadn't opened the door, he wouldn't have been harmed, so why would he choose to do just that? Unless someone connected to his private communication array, and the first thing that they uttered was blackmail. That would give Qingxuan no chance to fight back nor raise the alarm, and he could only do as instructed. Shalian sat down by the table. I'm more inclined to think it's blackmail against Lord Watermaster, since I don't believe you knew the full story. At least, not at first. This would explain why his reaction was so strong after learning whatever it was. The knowledge had provoked such a sharp revulsion towards the upper court that he would rather descend and become a drifting immortal or a wandering cultivator than stay in the heaven as a god. Ming Yi frowned. Blackmail? Qingxuan wasn't a fool. If he fell victim to a plot and lost his powers, his normal reaction should have been extreme rage or retaliation directed at the culprit, or a drive to investigate the matter. But there was none of that to be seen. There was rage, but it wasn't directed at the Reverend of Empty Words. It was directed at his own older brother. And to everyone else, he only declared that this would all end then and there. This was entirely abnormal, unless Qingxuan's ascension wasn't normal to begin with. Ooh. It was outrageously audacious to defy the heavens and alter fate. It was treacherous hearsay to raise someone who couldn't ascend upon the divine altar. Shalian had never heard of anything like it. Such a revelation, if true, would surely raise a tidal wave of chaos if it got out. Just think, everyone wanted to ascend, but wouldn't the very laws of the universe be rendered irrelevant and worthless if someone could do so just using that kind of method? The conjecture seemed absurd, but the more he considered it, the more it made sense. The Reverend of Empty Words had harassed Qingxuan since birth, and the only way to escape was to ascend. And miraculously, he did just that, in the span of just a few years. A pair of blood brothers ascended in succession. What a grand, fine tale. But also, what a grand coincidence. Shalian didn't want to question Qingxuan's ascension, but if the Windmaster was D-E-I-F-I-E-D, deified naturally. If the Windmaster was deified naturally, why was it so easy to rob him of his powers? If a monster could turn a god into a human so effortlessly, surely there would be many past cases of heavenly officials who fell victim. Unless Qingxuan should have been mortal in the first place. Unless the Watermaster did something underhanded to make the Windmaster ascend. Ooh, what do you think? What do you think? It wasn't out of line to use rare treasures and devices to aid in cultivation, nor was it out of line to ascend by way of massacre and war during unstable periods in the mortal realm. After all, that was the way of the world. Honor is accompanied by blood, and the slate is cleaned after ascension. With that said, it would be a completely different matter if a mortal or heavenly official used crooked means and conducted wicked rituals to harm others' lives for the sake of becoming a god. Some things were forbidden. Lord Windmaster, the night you ascended, was it the eve of Hanlu? Shalian asked in a low voice. A few moments later, Qingxuan drew a deep breath. Yes. After a pause, Qingxuan explained. When we were in the town of Fugu, that same thing crossed my mind. The eve of Hanlu. Wasn't that the same day I ascended? I wanted to ask you guys about it, to see if it might be a clue or related somehow, or if it was just a coincidence, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't bring it up. Well, now you know whether it's related. It was related. It was very related. Why did the Reverend of Empty Words choose that day to send Qingxuan to the town of Fugu to watch the exciting performance during the Bloody Fire social parade, then whisk him off to the Terrace of Cascading Wine and maim him there? It wouldn't go to such lengths if it didn't have a reason. Shalian connected the timing and the two places together. Centuries ago, a mortal called Scholar He broke down and murdered countless people in the town of Fugu on the eve of Hanlu. Centuries ago, Qingxuan ascended at the Terrace of Cascading Wine on the eve of Hanlu. It was obvious what the Reverend of Empty Words wanted to say. Qingxuan, your ascension is directly tied to the death of the hero of the Bloody Fire Social. This was Shalian's dreadful but logical theory. To rescue Qingxuan from the Reverend of Empty Words, after Shiwudu ascended, he secretly found a mortal who matched the requirements of birth and name. He then conducted some sort of wicked ritual to make that man take on Qingxuan's misfortune. That man was no doubt Scholar He, the man who was exceptionally clever, exceedingly impoverished, and endlessly unlucky to the point where his entire family was ruined. Scholar He took on Qingxuan's fate, and the Reverend of Empty Words was deceived. That meant his original fate was taken by Qingxuan. On the same Hanlu Eve, one experienced a taste of hell on earth, and the other successfully ascended under immensely powerful protection. But their two fates were originally the complete opposite. Ooh, boy. Black and green tea emotional damage. Oh, brother. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. The next chapter is chapter 60. Gods appointing gods is beneath ghosts devouring ghosts. Oh, brother. Oh, it's so good. Okay. My theory is that Scholar He has the given name Xuan, Shalian continued, and that his birth details are exactly the same as my lord's. It was no easy task to deceive the heavens and commit such fraud, and furthermore, not just any target would do. There were certain requirements that needed to be met. From the three questions the Reverend of Empty Words had asked when it encountered the young Qingxuan in the woods, it was clear that it knew two things. First, that its prey's name contained the word Xuan, and second, its prey's birth details. However, it couldn't recognize its prey's face, and had needed Qingxuan to approach it for it to see. The Reverend probably knew nothing besides those two facts, thanks to the Shi family's speedy response to the original incident. In order for someone to take Qingxuan's place and take on his misfortunes, two things had to be true. The target had to be male and share the same birth details, the same year, same month, same day, same time, and their name had to contain the word Xuan. How difficult it must have been to find a scapegoat. The world is vast, but even if Shiwudu searched every corner of it, he might not have found a single individual who satisfied the conditions to the letter. Using the power and influence of his great Watermaster status, he cast the net wide and actually landed a perfect catch. Furthermore, it was one who possessed the potential to ascend, and who was about to go through his first heavenly tribulation. How could he let this chance slip the line? This was a convenient shortcut to arduous cultivation. If he let him go, he might not find another opportunity ever again. At this point, Ming Yi's increasingly dark expression indicated that he had arrived at the same conclusion. Though Qingxuan nodded at first, something seemed to have struck him, and he looked to where Hua Cheng stood leaning against the door. This wasn't something that should be discussed before a ghost, after all. Wow, being, like, classist? A little racist? Like, come on. However, Hua Cheng only chuckled and crossed his arms. No need to look at me, Lord Windmaster. I'm not the one you should worry about. I have nothing to do with this whole business. Why don't you concern yourself with whether anyone else in the upper court has caught wind of your brother's dirty little secret? You really do have spies in the heavens, Ming Yi accused darkly. Didn't you already know that? Hua Cheng replied lazily. Lord Earthmaster was originally sent to Ghost City to investigate that very topic, but he came back empty-handed after over a decade of undercover work. It seemed the spy was planted deep, and their identity was never uncovered. Hua Cheng said this business had nothing to do with him, so naturally, Shalian believed him and didn't think any more of it. But Hua Cheng had also mentioned that Qingxuan should instead worry about others in the upper court, which reminded Shalian of something else. Lord Windmaster, why did you open the door and disrupt the protection array the night of the Terrace of Cascading Wine? Did someone call out to you? Who was it? Yeah, Qingxuan replied. It was the Reverend of Empty Words. It said... Shalian crossed his hand into his sleeves. How did it know your verbal password? ... Ming Yi made an annoyed face. Isn't it because he's always prancing around trying to make friends? He yaps nonstop, whether others are free or not. He talks too much. Qingxuan was aggrieved. Ming Shang, you can't say it like that. Everyone who chats with me is an upper court official. I've never given anything personal to that creature. If the Reverend of Empty Words could so easily uncover Lord Watermaster's secret after returning from its long dormancy, then getting Lord Windmaster's verbal password wouldn't have been difficult either, Shalian said. Someone must have leaked your verbal password. It's worth investigating, whether it was intentional or not. So, did you see what it looked like? What did it do after calling you out? Ming Yi asked. ... Qingxuan's head seemed to start throbbing. I don't know what it looks like. It cast a spell. I couldn't see clearly. This vague answer didn't elaborate on what he did see. Ming Yi's tone was becoming sullener by the minute. Shalian considered the possibility that it had emulated some gory scene from the bloody fire social, which was certainly difficult to describe. A moment later, Qingxuan sighed. I'm the useless one. If I could have ascended on my own, none of this would have happened. Oh my god, girl, it's too late for that. Qingxuan's original fate was probably quite good by mortal standards, otherwise the Reverend of Empty Words wouldn't have set its sights on him. Even so, ascension still might have been a long way away. Those who could ascend were protected by spiritual auras, and inhuman creatures had a hard time doing anything to them. And what nefarious creature would risk messing with a future heavenly official? A person's ability to ascend didn't depend on how smart they were. Intelligence and effort might not matter at all, and all the rare treasures and devices in the world certainly wouldn't increase one's chances. Sometimes it was just that vexing. 10 years of study couldn't compare to natural wit and talent, and a century of bloody struggle couldn't compare to a moment's enlightenment. If it wasn't written in fate, then it wasn't written in fate. The Watermaster could invest all the power and treasure he wanted in his younger brother, but without a fate to match, Qingxuan would remain in the middle court as nothing more than the bellwether of the lower-ranked officials. It had only been possible for him to reach such a glorious position because his older brother robbed another of what was originally theirs and secured it for him instead. If he had even a shred of conscience or pride, it wasn't hard to imagine how he must feel after having learned the truth. Bad. If that exchange of fates had never happened, the man who should have ascended would surely be supremely glorious today. Having thought of this, something struck Shalian. No, he said, Lord Windmaster, the one who called to you wasn't the Reverend of Empty Words. Qingxuan raised his bowed head. Huh? The voice definitely was. I couldn't have mistaken it. No. While that was its voice, it doesn't mean it was the same body, Shalian said. Everyone, do you remember? Each of the Reverend of Empty Words targets died by way of suicide, except for one. After a pause, he continued. How did Scholar He die? How was it portrayed at the Bloody Fire Social? Was it suicide? Qingxuan's eyes grew wide. It wasn't suicide. It was... exhaustion, Ming Yi answered. That's right, Shalian exclaimed. Even though he was hounded by misfortune, never once did Scholar He think of killing himself. Think about it. He had abnormally strong determination, Shalian continued somberly. He was ground down by so much unfairness, so much injustice, a typical person would have given up or ended everything. Yet he always fought back. He never yielded. Perhaps once the Reverend of Empty Words found him, it never imagined to suck out what it wanted, fear. The cause of his death wasn't suicide due to fear and despair. When the Reverend of Empty Words clung to him, it didn't bite down on sweet fruit, but rather an iron plate. In the end, it broke its teeth and lost thoroughly. Ooh, that's so good. Qingxuan shook his head as he listened. He sighed in earnest. I really am nothing compared to that man. He died filled with murderous intent and resentment, Shalian pointed out. I don't think a soul hammered into shape by such means would easily rest in peace. Instead, he'd thirst for revenge. So, Lord Windmaster, I believe the current Reverend of Empty Words is quite possibly not the same one that hunted you from birth. Instead, it's Scholar He himself, or rather, He Xuan, who stubbornly fought till the end, then bit back at the Reverend. Qingxuan and Ming Yi were both left stupefied by his claim. Ghost devouring ghosts, Hua Cheng added coolly. I love how Hua Cheng's there. None of this involves him at all. And he's just there to add in a cool little line at the end. Ghosts devouring ghosts. Oh. Oh man. Black and green tea. Hua Cheng's swirling a glass of wine. He Xuan, never heard of him. When humans devour humans, they fill their stomachs at most. When ghosts devour ghosts, with the right method, the devourer can absorb the devoured's power for their own use. This could also explain why the Reverend of Empty Words knew so many of the details of this whole affair, Shalian said. A monster like that should be simple-minded and strange in its logic. It shouldn't be so intelligent. However, the one that's currently pursuing you two is, He wanted to say hybrid, but it didn't feel accurate. Enhanced entity, Hua Cheng offered. Right, Shalian said. After Scholar He devoured the Reverend of Empty Words, his consciousness took complete control. Right now, he is not only intelligent, but he's also able to curse, and he bears endless resentment towards you and your brother. This explained why it didn't send a death curse directly through Qingxuan's private spiritual communication array, despite knowing his verbal password. Instead, it tightened the snare gradually. It forced Qingxuan to plug his own ears, shut his own eyes, and lock himself in an empty room. Like a cat that caught a mouse. It wouldn't kill him quickly. It would play and play until the mouse died of its own terror. Moments later, Ming Yi said, Now that it's come to this, what will you do? Everyone looked at Qingxuan, whose hair was a frightful mess from his unconscious head-scratching. Well, don't look at me, he responded bemusedly. I don't know what to do either. I just don't know how to look at my brother right now. They were brothers by blood, after all, and Shiwudu had committed this heinous crime and harmed the life of another for Qingxuan's sake. It was understandable that he didn't know what to do. But I must beg everyone here to keep this a secret. Don't say anything yet. Just for now. Only for now, Qingxuan pleaded. Give me time to think properly about what is to be done, even though I've been thinking for days now and still came up empty. Anyway, let me cool my head first. Toward the end, he was rambling, and his eyes were unfocused. Shiwudu kept claiming that Qingxuan needed to be treated for his illness, but what illness was there to treat? It was simply that he had fallen from divine grace and had transformed back into a mortal. That illness could only be cured if his fate was changed again and he ascended once more. It'd be difficult to find another qualified candidate, but who knew what other evil spell Shiwudu would come up with? No wonder Qingxuan was so desperate to flee and kept ranting about becoming mortal and abandoning his godhood. As for that error-filled scroll about the Reverend of Empty Words, no doubt it was made to mislead Qingxuan and ensure he didn't discover the truth. While its author could have been either Shiwudu or Ling Wen, Shiwudu would have needed help from the palace of Ling Wen at the start to cast the net for a qualifying candidate. Did Ling Wen really know nothing of this? If a single heavenly official had ascended this way, could there perhaps be a second or a third, or even more who ascended using the same method? If that were the case, it'd be horrifying. The world would be turned upside down. This incident had to be treated with the utmost gravity. Heaven is corrupt. Super fucking corrupt. Everyone in the little cottage was filled with gloom and doom, as if a great enemy was about to descend upon them. Everyone except Hua Cheng, of course, who had no horse in this race and was visibly enjoying himself. Just then, there was a sudden commotion outside the cottage. Oxen lowed furiously, and farmers started shouting, "Stop! Stop! Such murderous intent! What do you want?" Shalian moved to the door and peeked out through the crack. It's General Pei. Pei Ming had just taken a beating from 20 Gen, yet he still appeared to be in one piece. There was a leaning stone slab that marked the land's boundary, and Pei Ming seemed rather wary of it, not daring to enter rashly. He remained standing at the boundary marker, sword in hand. The farmers gripped their pickaxes and sickles, and their faces were written with an unwelcoming expression. The black ox in the paddy blew a few heavy breaths from its nostrils, then suddenly stood on its hind legs. An instant later, it transformed into a large, strapping man. He was rather handsome and wore a small iron nose ring. "Well, I'll be. Is that General Pei?" the ox laughed. "What a rare guest. What winds blew my lord over today? Let me say this first. We've got nothing to do with your little Pei's situation." Shalian looked thoughtful. He'd already had a vague suspicion when he saw the black ox out in the paddies. After all, this was Mount Yulong, the home of the Rain Master, and this very ox Xiong had lent Shalian the Rain Master hat to create rain long ago. Centuries had passed, and yet the ox was impressive as always. He still plowed the fields diligently, and with great strength. Qingxuan squeezed over to the crack in the door and explained the sight to Shalian. "The ox is from the Rain Master's household. He's a good guy." Pei Ming had once suffered a loss at the hands of the Rain Master, so for the time being he was maintaining a perfectly polite mien, neither haughty nor humble. "Please, no need to flatter me. Pei didn't come to seek the ruler of Yushi. May I inquire if the Lord Windmaster has stopped by your esteemed country?" Oh my god. Oh my god, we're getting so close. That's the end of that chapter. Okay, I think we can do one more chapter. Oh, brother. Okay, chapter 61. Past the heavenly tribulation. Waves surge in the East Sea. Heh, I didn't offer any flattery, the ox said. We're busy planting the fields. Nobody saw anyone. If that's the case, Pei Ming took a step forward. The farmers raised their pickaxes at once and began to shout at him. "Trampled! He trampled it!" Pei Ming frowned. "Trampled what?" "You trampled the crops that they so painstakingly planted," the ox stated. "You best apologize." Pei Ming looked down. "Aren't these just weeds, if I'm not mistaken?" he asked patiently. The ox gave him a puzzled look. "What would a belligerent general like you know? We're the ones who do the planting. Wouldn't we know better than you whether those are crops or weeds?" Shalian could tell the people of Yushi country were giving Pei Ming a hard time on purpose, but he couldn't help but wonder whether those were crops or weeds. That's so funny. Oh my god. Pei Ming was the esteemed martial god of the north. Why would he apologize to a bunch of farmers for such a nonsensical reason? He ignored them and took a few more steps over the boundary, then raised his voice to call towards the cottage. Qingxuan, come out! Your brother is going through his heavenly tribulation right now, and things aren't looking good. Something bad is going to happen. Oh my god. Oh my god, look at this man. I love how he's getting totally out-machoed. I had a thought that came to me. I know we all love Yushi Huang as a lesbian, but I'm like, do you think the ox ever plows her fields? Just saying. ... Shi Qingxuan had decided to hide in the cottage as he knew Pei Ming wouldn't dare break in. However, the moment he heard this, he rushed outside. What? Oh my god, oh my god. Qingxuan. Pei Ming gave the ox a look, and then to Shi Qingxuan. I knew you'd come running here. Shi Qingxuan was dumbstruck, but snapped out of it and leapt back. You can't fool me! How could it have come so fast? It's too sudden. I thought he'd have at least another few months. But at the heavenly capital, the water master had indeed departed in a hurry, like he had left to take care of something critical. Shi Qingxuan immediately brought 2 fingers to his temple. That was the hand seal for connecting to the spiritual communication array, and he belatedly remembered he had lost his powers. There was no time to be depressed, so he frantically grabbed onto Shailian. Your Highness, please help me ask, is it true? Shailian and Ming Yi both entered the spiritual communication array. Sure enough, inside the array, it was as utterly confused as a pot of stew and full of upset. Many of the heavenly officials were watching a display projecting the action taking place in the East Sea and mumbling to themselves. I love how there's like a live action going on right now. Black and Green Tea says, is this the 3rd time Shi Qingxuan has fallen for the your mom sent me to pick you up trick? Literally. My heavens, this battle stance, as expected of the water tyrant. But will he pass successfully? The stronger the powers of a heavenly official, and the more heavenly tribulations they had passed, the more perilous their next trials would be. Shiwudu reigned over the waters, dominated the path of the wealth, and this was his 3rd tribulation. It was easy to imagine how things would proceed from here. It's true, Shailian confirmed. The ox was still blocking the path, and Pei Ming couldn't force himself through. He called out from afar. You're not a child anymore. Who would lie to you about something like this? Passing a heavenly tribulation isn't like planning a dinner where you can pick a date and change into new robes. It comes as it wills, and without warning. He's currently above the East Sea, and the waters are surging. No one can enter, and no one can escape. He was battling the waves when someone reported that you ran away. So how can he possibly focus on passing his trial? Then why don't you tell him I'm in Yushi country? Shi Qingxuan responded. Thank you, Jay, for the donation. Is that an ox? Incredible. Hell yeah. Sexy Oxman representation. Thank you so much, Jay. Shailian listened to the direct relay of the situation in the communication array. It's no use. A frenzied spiritual field has been released over the entire area where Lord Watermaster is undergoing the trial. He's probably in turmoil right now. No one can reach him. Shi Qingxuan charged towards Pei Ming. Take me to him! Pei Ming extended his hand. Come! However, Ming Yi raced over and blocked Shi Qingxuan's way, his expression dark. Mingshang, what is it? Shi Qingxuan asked. Ming Yi remained silent, his brows locked into a furrow. Shailian could guess what he was probably thinking, why he felt that he had to stop Shi Qingxuan. Was helping Shiwudu pass his heavenly tribulation really the right thing to do? Ooh. Orion, thank you so much for donating as well! What do we think of Oxiang's tops Pei Ming while Yushi Huang watches? Wow, incredible donation message. Thank you so much for donating. Okay, I'll write that one down. If the fate changing had occurred, the Watermaster must receive an equally grave punishment. Was it really appropriate to help him climb to a new level of power before investigating the matter? Shalian could guess such a thing because he was pondering the very same question. Qingxuan hesitated for a moment, but eventually exhaled a long breath. Mingshang, I thank you, but no matter what, I'm still worried, so let's just focus on passing this trial first. He rushed to Pei Ming's side and turned his head to call to the rest. Thank you, Your Highness. Thank you, Lord Rainmaster. Thank you, Ox. Thanks, everyone. I'll repay this one day. They hurried away. Ming Yi stayed where he was for a moment before following after them. Shalian watched their retreating backs, but he didn't move. Hua Cheng leisurely stepped out of the cottage. I'm still here too. Gaga's not going? After some thought, Shalian shook his head. This matter is beyond me. I can't help, he said slowly. Let's see how they resolve this themselves first. I'm really like, at now is when you give up. Qingxuan was the central figure of this mess, but he still couldn't figure out what he should do and was troubled by his own indecision. Although Shalian could understand why Shiwudu did what he did, he still didn't agree with the method. The ideal resolution would be for Shiwudu to admit to his crimes and turn himself in to receive punishment. Ming Yi probably hoped for the same thing, which was why he had stopped Qingxuan. However, considering the Watermaster's imperious, arrogant personality, this scenario was most likely impossible. After sitting in such a high position for so many years, no one would willingly step down. If this were anyone else, Shalian would probably report the affair to the Heavenly Court straight away, but he keenly remembered the Wind Master's warm-hearted friendship, and Shalian couldn't turn his back on Qingxuan when his older brother was facing such a dire situation. He couldn't kick a person when they were already down, couldn't disregard past affections. The only thing he could do was sit back and see how they would take care of themselves. However, if their chosen course of action was untoward... Having thought to that point, he turned to Hua Cheng. Sanlong, your advice from before was probably right, he said in a self-deprecating tone. Gosh, what a mess this is. Hua Cheng smiled and was about to speak, but Shalian's expression changed at the sound of Ling Wen's distressed voice within the spiritual communication array. What? Hundreds of fishermen's boats got dragged in. Did this have to happen right now? Shalian was aghast. Fishermen? Dragged in where? The East Sea? He responded anxiously. It's like, oh brother, we have to get involved, don't we? Oh my gosh. Oh my god, this is crazy. If the communication array had been as confusing as a pot of stew earlier, the stew had now toppled to the ground and fed the dogs. Ling Wen didn't even have time to respond to him anymore, though her voice remained considerably collected. Excuse me, which martial god is on duty? Old Pei? Pei Ming responded in the communication array. Don't worry, I have Qingxuan with me, and we're rushing over. Lord Earthmaster is here too. First, figure out how many people got pulled into the storm so we can bring them all back. We'll try not to lose a single one. Thanks for your trouble, Ling Wen said. Since Lord Watermaster has explosively released the spiritual field, forbidding others to enter the perimeter of his trial, any middle court officials will be blown to smithereens if they attempt to enter. Why is, like, the thought of a god saying blown to smithereens so funny? Ah. You're gonna be blown to smithereens! Upper court officials can perhaps still try to break through the barrier, though. There were probably over 200 individuals pulled in, so just the two of you might not be enough. We'll need another martial god. Which highness is present right now? General Nanyang? General Xuanzhen? Weren't those two generals placed in confinements for tearing up the heavenly capital? Someone responded. They won't be able to heed the call. What about Tai Hua? Has His Highness Tai Hua returned? No, he's been assigned out. Qi Yang? Who knows where he ran off to? He blocks all messages and listens to no one. You already know that. Other than those few, there weren't any other martial gods worth a dime. Although he was anxious, Shalian couldn't help but feel a little woeful. Was his scrap god aura so strong that everyone forgot he came from a martial god background? Me, I'm present, he responded hastily. Let me go. It's just rescuing the fishermen in the East Sea, right? Your Highness, the winds and waves of the East Sea are perilous, and your spiritual power only works occasionally. What if... Saying it only works occasionally is hilarious. It's fine, Shalian said. I've fished in all 4 seas, and every single time it was storming. I've often drifted on the waters for half a month at a time, so I'm very used to it. Oh my god. T says Function and Mooching received an in-school suspension. Literally. All the officials couldn't help but wonder, you've done that too? Just what else have you done? The situation was dire and didn't allow room for more thought, so Ling Wen acquiesced. Very well, thank you for the trouble. General Pei, get coordinated. Sure thing, Pei Ming responded. Shalian closed the communication array and turned to Hua Cheng. Sunlong, in the East Sea. When he turned his head, he saw that Hua Cheng had unexpectedly already changed into a refreshing fisherman getup. He's so cute! Oh my god, he's already like, let's go fishing! Oh my god, that's so cute. He tossed up a die and caught it as it fell. His other hand was on the door. Let's go, he said simply. That's so cute. Shalian was briefly stunned, but soon smiled and hurried to his side. All right. Orion Belt says, I know it's a different fit, but I can't help imagining him with those, like, bucket hats, a vest, big boots, and a fishing rod. Yeah, like, he's got the full yellow, like, East Coast deep sea fisherman. When the door opened, it wasn't the interior of a cottage that greeted them, but an expansive, gloomy seashore. He sells seashells by the seashore, you could say. The two emerged from a small fisherman's shed on the beach. This little shed was one of the most used connection points for the teleportation array on the East Sea. Beyond the beach was the boundless ocean, stretching to the ends of the horizon. The beach was gray, not because the sand was gray, but because the skies and sea were both that steely color. Gloom pressed down, and black clouds rolled. The malaise was oppressive and suffocating. Honestly, it sounds like the coast of Vancouver most days. Very gray skies, very gray water. Giant waves surged and collapsed in the distant sea like magnificent fortress walls that rose from flat ground before crumbling in an instant. Water pillars resembling dragons roared into the sky and thrashed like tornadoes before hurtling back into the depths. Ominous lightning crawled across the skies, twisted and savage. A large, newly built ship was berthed by the beach. There had to be a place for them to stand on the open sea. If they attempted to fly, they might get struck by lightning, so a seafaring vessel was needed to carry them out. Naturally, this wasn't an ordinary ship. Qingxuan, Pei Ming, and Ming Yi were already on board, and the moment they saw Hua Cheng and Shalian exit the fisherman's shed, Pei Ming called out, Your Highness! Qingxuan sighed, Your Highness, you... Sorry for the trouble, I truly am. Like, how many times have they, like, split apart, you know, only to come back? Shalian boarded the ship. Only doing my duty. How do we start the ship? Pei Ming noticed Hua Cheng, who had his arms crossed and appeared quite at home. Non-essential individuals must leave. This tempest isn't a joke, he warned. Hua Cheng was dressed in plain, patched clothes and looked like a winsome little fisherman. Nonetheless, nothing could hide away his bright handsomeness. I'm not non-essential. I'm just following my highness, he laughed. He's from my palace, Shalian explained. That's so funny. Oh my god. Pei Ming had already flashed an inch of his blade from its sheath. "Stand down," he stated, unrelenting and determined. Shalian hadn't yet responded when Hua Cheng answered with unusual firmness. "No, I have to go with you on this trip." Both sides were only in a stalemate for a moment, but Qingxuan was living seconds as if they were seasons. He turned to Pei Ming. "General Pei, this man is fine. Let's just go." Pei Ming being like, "We can't bring this fucking random fisherman with us." During their exchange, lightning violently struck the surface of the sea. The current coursed through the waters and crackled outward, brightening the sea to an aqua color. It looked like a giant heart had suddenly started pulsating and breathing. It was a spectacular sight, but also terrifying. Pei Ming didn't want to wait any longer and barked an order to leave. "Start!" The ship gave a violent shudder. With the rumbling sounds of shaft swirling, the ship steered itself without any manual control. It left the beach and sailed out with great speed. As lightning flashed and thunder roared, the ship opened a path between crashing waves. The storm was huge, but Shalian, Hua Cheng, Pei Ming, and Ming Yi all stood steadily. As for Qingxuan, it was only thanks to Ming Yi's support that he hadn't fallen over. They are touching so much. Oh my god. "Can the ship hold out against the storm?" Shalian yelled. "It's manageable right now, but it'll be hard to say as we move forward," Pei Ming replied. The ship was already moving at an extremely fast pace, spearing through the waves and creating huge splashes of its own in its wake. Yet Qingxuan still asked, "Can't this thing go any faster?" "Running this ship burns spiritual power. This is already the fastest it can go," Pei Ming replied. Qingxuan clenched his right fist. This was the hand he used to hold the Windmaster fan. With just one swing, it could have provided a tailwind and made the ship go at least 4 times faster. Yet now that hand was empty. Oh. He couldn't help but exhale a long sigh. Hua Cheng tapped Shalian lightly and whispered, "Gaga." Shalian turned his head and his eyes widened. About 30 meters out, there was a small fishing boat spinning in the waves. He could vaguely see a few figures that seemed to be calling for help, but their cries were being swallowed by the noise of the waves. The fishermen in distress! This was why he was here. Royer shot out and wrapped around the fishermen's midsections and hauled them in. Their legs almost gave out the moment their feet touched the ship's deck. Pei Ming immediately opened the door for one of the cabins and threw them inside. When the fishermen opened the door again, they would find themselves back on shore. Hua Cheng and Shalian fished up 30 or 40 fishermen. While they were doing so, the ship was carried by the turbulent waters closer and closer to the center of the tempest. Right now, there were surely many heavenly officials watching this frightening scene from afar, and there were surely many mortals staring in awe and terror at the might of the heaven. The lightning struck at the ship with increasing frequency, attracted to sources of spiritual power. It would pursue and strike at those who stood out. This was why other officials generally stayed far away when someone was undergoing a heavenly tribulation, lest they fall victim. Qingxuan was mortal right now. Shalian only had enough power to communicate through the array, and Hua Cheng's powers were tucked away neatly, as he had no need to use them. Thus, the lightning focused on Pei Ming alone. He frequently needed to strike bolts back with his sword, though he managed it with considerable ease. He's striking back lightning strikes with his sword. That's fucking awesome. Shalian was rather impressed by his show of skill. This was why middle court officials were not permitted to come. If they were present, they'd be surely chased away with lightning hot on their tails, and they certainly wouldn't be able to strike back. Shalian not able to, geek out a moment about Pei Ming's sword ability. After crossing through the barrier, Qingxuan yelled, "Gah!" Shalian looked up. Sure enough, Shei Wudu floated there in the skies, surrounded by 7 or 8 roaring water dragon pillars. His hands formed a battle hand seal, and his white robes whipped wildly in the wind. Although he was still suppressing the great waves, he seemed somewhat unfocused and his control was unsteady. The frenzied water dragon stalked him relentlessly and seized upon every chance to get closer and devour him whole. Each time he only barely dodged. The ship was dozens of meters away from him. If the Windmaster fans was still unusable, Qingxuan could have pushed the waves down a notch. In his current mortal body, even his voice couldn't reach very far, and he could only watch in distress. When Pei Ming spoke, his voice was broadcast powerfully and widely. "Water Master Xiang! We found Qingxuan!" He called him Xiang. As soon as he spoke, Shiwudu opened his eyes. Another giant wave surged to the skies and crashed back down. The ship was thrown high into the air, but it didn't keep up with the speed of the collapsing waters. It hung there for a brief second before falling rapidly. Shalian used the 1,000-pound weight spell to steady himself and grabbed Hua Cheng's hand tightly. "Watch out!" It was a funny feeling. Hua Cheng was clearly taller than him, and it took him no effort to carry Shalian with one hand, but Shalian always felt that Hua Cheng was light as a feather, like if he didn't pay attention, he would disappear, and so Shalian held him firmly, and Hua Cheng clutched his hand in turn. Oh, he's gotta hold him so tight. He weighs nothing because he's actually just made of butterflies. "Watermaster Xiang, focus!" Pei Ming calls out. "If you don't push those waves of yours down, you'll drown your little brother!" Shiwudu saw the ship in the distance and heard his words. Anger flashed across his face. His hand seal changed and a spiritual shield burst from around him. It struck the water dragon that had been circling him, and they exploded into a deluge of water that crashed soundly into the sea. The raindrops hurtled like rocks against the deck and pelted their bodies painfully. However, after this assault, the storm slowed and calmed somewhat. Shiwudu carefully descended and landed on the ship. Everyone was drenched from head to toe like drowned dogs. Oh my god! This is like an inside joke from my YouTube membership on the members, like when we play the game night streams. There's this inside joke about how an evil version of Shalian drowned a dog. I can't believe drowned dogs is mentioned in the book. That's fucking hilarious. Qingxuan wiped his face and mumbled with trepidation. "Gah." Shiwudu's face was still dark, and he approached in large strides. "I told you to stay put, but you had to run away! Will you finally be satisfied if I'm angered to death?" Qingxuan really didn't know what to say to that. When he couldn't see his brother, he'd worry, but now that he had seen him, he could only think about the whole awful business. His heart just couldn't get over it. "I'm only just... In the end, he scratched his head and sighed. "As long as you passed your trial, that's all that matters, I think. I still think." Shiwudu cut him off. "Who said my trial is over?" Qingxuan was taken aback. "Wasn't that it?" Pei Ming made use of the water to slick back his hair. "Don't relax so soon. This is your brother's third heavenly tribulation, so it's not going to be that easy. It'll take at least 7 days and 7 nights. What you just saw was only the opening act." Truth be told, even if it were his first heavenly tribulation, it wouldn't be so easy. The heavenly tribulation that prompted Qingxuan's ascension was heavily diluted compared to everyone else's. He must have come to that conclusion as well, and his face grew glum. It's like he's realizing how easy he's had it, that he completely cheated the system this entire time. Shalian's primary concern was the original goal of this journey, so he asked in the spiritual communication array, "Lingwen, we've entered the area where Lord Watermaster's heavenly tribulation is taking place. Can you tell us the location of the fishermen who were dragged into the storm?" "Please wait a moment," Lingwen replied. After a pause, she said, "This is troublesome. Today, 261 fishermen were pulled into the perimeter of the heavenly tribulation, and they're scattered all over the place." Her voice started to break up, and Shalian couldn't really understand her anymore. "What's wrong, Lingwen?" He thought his powers were low again, but when he looked up and saw Pei Ming's face, it was obvious that he was experiencing the same thing. Before they could discuss the matter, Shalian saw more little broken boats not far from them. Maybe the aftershocks of the opening round were too great and affected spiritual communication. It might improve in a bit. Ling Wen said 261 fishermen were scattered by the waves, so let's just save as many as we can. Naturally, no one objected. Watermaster Xiong, why don't you go inside and rest for a bit? Pei Ming suggested. Your trial only just started, and who knows when the next round will come. You're pretty unlucky to have dragged in so many mortals this time. Shiwudu did appear somewhat tired. He nodded, pushed open the door of another cabin, and went inside to meditate. Qingxuan looked like he wanted to say something serious to him, but since his heavenly tribulation wasn't over, he couldn't bring himself to speak. He could only swallow his words and mope off to the side with Ming Yi. However, Shiwudu opened his eyes again and said sharply, "Don't go running around. Come and sit right here." And so Qingxuan could only crouch down next to Shiwudu. More than half a day passed thus. As the night darkened, the ship floated farther and deeper into the parts of the East Sea. Although spiritual communication still only worked sporadically, they managed. Shalian and company rescued over 200 fishermen during this period. The fishermen had gone to a sea to fish as always, but stormy winds and waves suddenly surged, and they were pulled too far out. It would have been impossible to drift back on their own if help hadn't come, and if left adrift, they would have floated endlessly until they died from starvation or dehydration, their corpses desiccated under the sun. They were understandably overjoyed at this miraculous ray of hope that saved them from the brink of death. Who knew how many days and nights it'd take for all the drifting fishermen to be rescued from open water? And Shiwudu's third heavenly tribulation had still not officially started. Danger could rear its head at any moment, but even at a time like this, Pei Ming still acted as he always did. In the evening, they came upon a few terrified fisher girls needing rescue, their faces smeared with tears. He held them in his embrace and soothed them with gentle words. It was a true show of honey-sweet romance, an affectionate, charming display. Only after he charmed the girls did he send them off to the cabin, and the girls were all reluctant to leave, clearly hoping that when they opened the door, he would still be there. Oh my god. Shiwudu cracked open his eyes. He'd been meditating for a while now, and his complexion looked better. Sorry. Don't you usually have high standards? Although the fisher girls were in the full bloom of youth, they were still only average. They were nowhere near the standard of targets Pei Ming usually hunted. Now that he'd held some women, Pei Ming's face was glowing. He rubbed his chin as he laughed. After rescuing so many old, scraggly, bearded fishermen, any woman looks like an outstanding beauty in comparison. Oh my god. Upon hearing this, both Qingxuan and Ming Yi didn't want to look at him anymore. Shalian actually found it rather funny and shook his head. He and Hua Chung sat down next to each other at the side of the ship, and he felt the emptiness of his stomach a moment later. Everyone else on the ship didn't need to eat. Qingxuan was immortal right now, but Shalian suspected Shiwudu must have given him some sort of holy pill, the kind that could fill a stomach for a few days. Even now, Qingxuan didn't show any sign of hunger. This ship wasn't built in the mortal realm, so it wouldn't carry any rations. Shalian was about to get up and try catching some fish, when Hua Chung passed something over. Shalian looked down to find it was a soft, snow-white, steamed bun. He sat back down and whispered, "Thank you, Sanlang." "Take this for now, Gaga," Hua Chung whispered back. "It'll get better soon." They split the steamed bun in half to share, and the two sat together to slowly munch on it. Pei Ming heard them whispering to each other from where he stood on the other end of the ship. He slicked his hair back again. "Have you two discovered something? Why don't you leave your little world for a moment and share with the rest of us?" Oh my god, I love how everyone's picking up on it. Shalian was about to say something to put him off, but frowned instead. "Don't you all sense something strange?" Ming Yi frowned as well and looked up. "Yes." Shalian rose to his feet. "The ship seems to be going much slower. Is it running out of power?" "How could that be?" Pei Ming said. "The ship's stores of spiritual power should allow it to run for several more days at sea." Shalian approached the side and placed his hand on the railing, but I keep getting the sense that the ship got heavier. He abruptly stopped mid-sentence. Shiwudu and the others gathered where he stood. "What is it?" But there was no need to ask. With just a glance, they understood. Despite the darkened sky, the draft of this ship's hull was visibly abnormal. The hull was much lower in the water than before, and the waterline was still climbing. Is the hull sinking? Shalian asked. Did we hit a shoal? Is there something in the water that tore a hole? That's impossible, Paiming exclaimed. How would we notice not hitting a shoal? And this isn't some ordinary ship. Nothing should be able to pierce the hull, unless... He choked, as though he had abruptly realized something. Unless what? Ming Yi demanded. Oh no, Paiming said. What do you mean, oh no? Shi Qingxuan demanded. Put in the chat! Paiming whirled around. Ships immediately sink in Ghost's territories. We've drifted into the Blackwater Demon Lair. Not Blackwater Lagoon! That's the end of the chapter! Oh my god! We're so fucked! Oh my god! Oh my god, Ming Yi. Wow, what's happening? Ming Yi shocked YouTuber face. Does someone else sense something strange going on? Oh my god. Rose City Kimono says, thinking of the tribulations part, do you think Blackwater is part of the tribulation, not an external force? Would that mean Watermaster failed? We shall see! Oh, we shall see. Thank you so much for donating, Rose City Kimono. Oh my god, this is so much fun rereading this. Oh my god. I think we are gonna get Peanut Jr. next chapter. So, this is so exciting. Bonefish number 9 welcomes you. Oh my god. Arwen, yes, we can check the community before we end the stream. This is so exciting. Oh my god. Blackwater Demon Lair. Blackwater Lagoon. This is amazing. Oh my god, are you guys having fun? This is so fun. If this is your first time reading, how fun. If this is your second time reading, how fun. Peanut Jr. Peanut Jr. What determines Hushuan's territory? I'm not sure if it's explained, but just like how Shiwudu was able to like cast a net of like the area that he's like, I'm battling shit here. Maybe he can also set a perimeter and be like, this is mine. And make his like ghost chi emanate in the certain barrier or something. I love how it's slowly starting to sink. It's like where like oceans meet and you know the like color starts to change. It's so cool. Like setting up a boss fight area. Yes! Oh my god, this is so good. Oh, it's so fun. And also there's so much Hualian sweetness now. Like, they're really touching each other now and being very sweet, and Shalian's gay panic has, like, really gone up. And there's been quite a few, like... Shalian seeing him shirtless and then being like, he didn't know what he wanted, but he knew he wanted to do something for Hua Cheng. Like, girl! And then there was that other time when he was like thinking about him and he was like, I gotta say the fucking sutras right now because I'm getting a little distracted. Like he's having dirty thoughts. Yeah, the coffin scene really puts the nail in the coffin. Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so crazy. It's so crazy. The nail in the coffin is a great way to put that. Okay, checking the community before we go. Arwen said, so whenever I get bored, I make slideshows, and this week's victim is Modazushi. Chenxing and Wanji were both made in Google Slide, and this little band in the corner are Lan Wangji and Wei Wuxian's courtesy names, given names, titles, and clan affiliation. Oh my gosh, wow, you did this all in Google Slides? That's fucking cool! That is awesome! That is so sweet. That is such a creative way to use Google Slides. That's wicked. Thank you for sharing that. More like bone in the coffin. Frogger, Dragon Slayer, Drew, Mingyi with the mask. Yes! Oh my god. Mingxiong. That's awesome. Oh my god, that's so cool you drew that. That was so cool. She Qingxuan be like, but one thing he didn't consider is the power of my... Wait, but one thing he didn't count on is my power of chest expansion. Oh no! He lost his power of chest expansion. Oh my gosh. Oh nice, Azami, drawing some Hualien. That is awesome. Nice. Love it. Oh my gosh. I'm just having such a good time rereading this with you guys. Oh my god. Okay, we won't be able to read the Coffin Boner until next week, I don't think. Not until next Monday. But when we do, it'll be good. It'll be good. Oh my gosh. Okay, tomorrow we're doing a new game night. So, if you would like to become a member of my channel, now's your time. You can click join and learn about the membership. And any membership tier can come and play games. It's a ton of fun. And that'll be tomorrow at 7 p.m. PST. Yahoo! Alright. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you, the members, tomorrow, for sure. For game night. And then if not, Monday for the coffin scene. Yeah, okay. I love you guys. Bye! Thank you, CSCL. Bye!